Good afternoon. Today I will be giving you a very brief preview of the scope of Bernard Shaw's play Arms and the Man. Now, Arms and the Man is one of the plays of Bernard Shaw which highlights and calls into question a number of notions on warfare and romance and soldiering which Shaw felt was immediately relevant in his times. To achieve this end, he offers his viewers in the play a Swiss captain to portray the reality of a professional soldier's experience both on and off the battlefield. Shaw casts Bluntschli as a mercenary in service to the Serbians during their November 1885 invasion of Bulgaria. Arms and the Man, the play, opens with a Bulgarian cavalry charge that compels him to scale Raina Petkov's window and hide in her bedchamber. Once there, he disappoints the young woman's every expectation of how a soldier should behave. Instead of behaving nobly and heroically, as she believes her beloved Sergei Saranov did by leading the charge against the Serbs, Bluntschli cowers in her bedchamber, making every effort not to be found. Though Bluntschli manages to evade the Bulgarians' charge, he unwittingly finds himself performing as Saranov's foil in Raina's bedchamber. His sudden appearance presents everyone watching the play with an unplanned opportunity to rethink commonly accepted views on soldiering, war, and masculinity. For Raina, these views had until then been performed in equal parts by Saranov's posturing and a regular diet of romance novels and opera performances, while the audience, Shaw rightly suspected, was likely to have a similarly narrow set of influences. Together, the two men offer Raina competing conceptions of what it means to be a soldier, and through them, Bernard Shaw aims for the play to challenge the audience's ingrained beliefs. What comes most to characterize Bluntschli and results in his memorable epithet is, of course, his practice of carrying chocolate in place of revolver cartridges. He wistfully admits to Raina, I have no ammunition, and immediately goes on to add, what use are cartridges in battle? I always carry chocolate instead, and I finished the last cake of that hours ago. Only later in the opening act does Raina realize that Bluntschli has been speaking somewhat sarcastically and that his lack of ammunition and consequently Sergia's resulting success was because Bluntschli and his men had accidentally been sent the wrong sized cartridges in battle. For the time being, however, Raina takes him at his word. Shaw notoriously detailed stage direction suggests that Raina is rather credulous. She tends to believe what she hears. She is said to be outraged in her most cherished ideals of manhood when she disdainfully replies, do you stuff your pockets with sweets? Like a schoolboy even in the field? Neither she nor the play's audience can yet know that Bluntschli's self-effacing response when he says, yes, isn't that contemptible? Masks a complex historical reality. Soldiers like Bluntschli did in fact carry chocolate on the battlefield to provide themselves with ready nourishment, but the chocolate they carried was altogether different from the decadent chocolate creams Raina enjoys in her bedchamber. Only through an understanding of the play's use of chocolate, both literally as food and figuratively as an epithet and metaphor, can viewers see in Bluntschli's characterization the reality of a professional soldier's experiences. With Arms and the Man, Shaw expects his audience to distinguish between the cultural meanings of two very distinct forms of chocolate. the brittle cold chocolate that soldiers had come to consume on the battlefield as part of their daily rations, and the fine chocolate creams that had only recently come to be associated with romance. Shaw had the solid chocolate stand for a soldier's pragmatism and good sense, while chocolate creams represent a young woman's immaturity and romantic illusions of love and warfare. In Bluntschli, Shaw has figuratively and literally seized on chocolate as a means through which to distinguish realist forms from romanticized notions of soldiers and masculinity. Although inexperienced soldiers may be enamored by shows of gallantry, professional soldiers like Bluntschli understand the imperative for self preservation. Bluntschli remarks, "You can always tell an old soldier by the insides of his holsters and cartridge boxes. The young ones carry pistols and cartridges, the old ones grub." Raina, however, does not admire Bluntschli's pragmatism, nor is she yet sophisticated enough to perceive his knack for blunt truth telling. She is likewise far too enamored with Saranov's imperious manner to perceive the desperation that almost surely triggered her lover's reckless grandstanding. Altogether, caught up in the idealized notions of war, soldiering, and masculinity, she dubs Bluntschli a chocolate cream soldier to signify his supposed immaturity, lack of character, and failure to fulfill her ideals. "Oh, you are a very poor soldier, a chocolate cream soldier," she exclaims. Shaw designs the first act's romantic escapade perhaps to resemble scenes like those found in French well-made plays of Eugene Scribe or those more contemporary to Shaw's time by Victorien Sardou. Only when the audience has been drawn to misconceive its intentions does the play make its high-minded purpose known. Despite its far-off Bulgarian setting, plot conveniences, chocolate cream soldier, and other comedy trappings, Shaw means the play to be a provocative, politically charged, and above all realistic depiction of a soldier's trials. Bluntschli extends this perception beyond the noble attitude at the beginning of the play when he reminds Raina of her actions in the first act. When Raina says, for example, pretending to sulk, "The lady says that he can keep his tablecloths and his omnibuses. I am not here to be sold to the highest bidder." And Bluntschli replies, "I won't take that answer. I appeal to you as a fugitive, a beggar and a starving man. You accepted me. You gave me your hand to kiss, your bed to sleep in, and your roof to shelter me." To which Raina replies, "I did not give them to the Emperor of Switzerland." And Bluntschli says, "That's just what I say." And he catches her by the shoulders and turns her face to face with him. He says, "Now tell us, whom did you give them to?" To which Raina, succumbing with a shy smile, says, "To my chocolate cream soldier." And Bluntschli, significantly with a boyish laugh of delight, replies, "That'll do, thank you." This passage presents the final change of Raina as Bluntschli helps her to move from conventional behavior, in which she is pretending, as the stage direction indicates, into a real person whose reactions are not feigned but her own and genuine, shown by the shy smile. With this smile, however, Raina declares her freedom from the role playing she had done at the start of the play, when she played the heroic role, mocking Bluntschli by saying, "Oh, you are a very poor soldier, a chocolate cream soldier." Now she mocks her own folly in using that term as well as a romantic role when she signed her photograph, Raina, to her chocolate cream soldier. By playfully mocking both roles that she had previously taken seriously, Raina reaches beyond roles to show her ability to play with the stereotypes she had previously enacted, thinking them real. It is not Bluntschli who, Pygmalion-like, makes her into some new, more real creature. She began it herself in the first act when she defied social convention and acted as herself rather than in conformity to some external standard. Bluntschli here simply reminds her how she had defied conventional morality by giving her bed to sleep in. By the end of the play, Raina becomes the opposite of what Shaw defined as the womanly woman. She becomes a realist. Shaw's metaphor for the transformation from idealist to realist is expressed in terms of age, from adult using ideals, acting to external standards, to child acting spontaneously without playing a conforming role. To mark change in Bluntschli, the final stage direction describes his boyish laugh of delight. And when Raina and Sergius are most themselves, when they realize they had been posing, Raina, the stage direction says, actually leans back babyishly against the writhing shoulder of Sergius. Most important, the word babyish is used at Raina's turning point. She suddenly sits down beside him and adds, with a complete change of manner, from the heroic to the babyish familiarity goes the stage direction. And she says, "How did you find me out?" The shift from the heroic to a babyish familiarity does not sound like a step toward greater maturity, but in Shaw's sense, it is. First, it lays the foundation for the final reversal and Bluntschli's confusion about how childlike Raina is. Second, it is a metaphor for what happens when the layers of social conformity are stripped away and weakened. In one sense, the new realist is a child again. This third dimension of Raina is even more difficult for any actor to play. She alternates not only between the heroic pursues and the unaffected. There is a childlike Raina as well, and the actor must present someone who could be seen simultaneously as aged 17 and 23. The result is a fully ambiguous character, easily capable of confusing an audience since so many dimensions are revealed simultaneously. This echoes Shaw's concept of character stated by Sergius. What would the half dozen Sergiuses who keep popping in and out of this handsome figure of mine say if they caught us here? The complexity of Raina's character makes difficult both acting the role and responding to the play. The reason for the complexity of vision of Raina is twofold. First, the play itself takes the view of multiple persons in one, as the half dozen Sergiuses line implies. Second, in his attempt to present a character, especially one who sees herself as only a woman, Shaw explores the ways in which people act to satisfy such external definitions. This is a very brief preview that I had to give you with regard to Shaw's Arms and the Man. In my subsequent class with this play, we'll be discussing important themes and how Shaw handles them.